I was just going to ask you if there has to be a standard in teaching, because, for example, if you don't teach law students enough science, they will never understand the ideologies lying behind, for example, Marxism, because Marxism, for example, lies on the foundation of dialectics, and dialectics lies on the foundation of Darwinism, and they have to know at least enough biology to understand Darwinism, because if you don't teach a student in high school or in elementary school the basics of, for example, a cell, what organelles do in a cell, what does a cell membrane do, or what is the life cycle of a jellyfish, and how do their, for example, eggs look, and that they will never understand what Darwinism is, and they can be easily deceived by those so-called theories which are not scientific, and people are really deceived by these kinds of ideas. I think everyone has to learn everything, of course in an order, but if we ask, for example, a sociology student to not learn science or maths, he cannot prosper in life, because he will not know the difference between right or wrong when it comes to ideologies later in life. You cannot teach a person, for example, who is 40 years old, one by one, each and every one of them. This is harder. I mean, of course you can, but this is not as easy as teaching a youngster. For example, this is not the best model, of course, but in Turkey you have to learn everything. You have to learn the geology and the history of also North America and South America and all the world. And you have to learn almost everything about biology and physics and quantum physics and chemistry. And you have to learn almost everything about maths. And you have to learn, before finishing high school, at least one, preferably 3 foreign languages, so that you can talk to people and you can be more educated later in life. Do you think there has to be such kind of an education system, and there has to be such kind of a standard also in United States? Because I know that many people in United States, even though America has an existence in the Middle East, cannot spot the names of the countries in the Middle East on a world map.
Yeah, definitely all of that is true. We need to more fully round up a person's education in as many categories as possible. I mean, I went to a school where we did have some school where we did, for instance, learn foreign language, and while I didn't retain it really well, I mean, I know a little bit of French and German and Spanish, just a little, but you know, they at least gave us that opportunity to learn. As far as the teaching of philosophy, one thing I think you pointed out is a lot of people don't know when they're applying philosophical ideas, that they don't know that's what they're doing. They're just trained to think a certain way, and a lot of people don't think about why they're thinking it. And so they just go ahead thinking certain thoughts and thinking it's coming natural to them, but they're applying a philosophy that they've been indirectly taught, and just going on that without really understanding it. And I think there's another problem, though, that I should address. It's really nothing to be addressed politically, but something people need to deal with as far as, you know, in their conversations with their friends and their neighbors and their family, that we really are losing touch with understanding a distinction between things that matter and things that are trivial. And what I see happening in America is there's just this huge culture of really just complete intellectually empty content on television, value-free, idea-free, it just nothing but, they call it reality TV, and most of the time it's not really, hopefully not most people's reality at all, but apparently just the reality of a few people who have really uninteresting lives, in my opinion. But it just seems like this is the kind of thing that obsesses people, or people obsessed with, even in our politics, are trivia. For instance, I'm looking, instead of analyzing the ideas or the policies of presidential candidates, and of course they only talk about 2 of them, they'll get into, you know, whether or not the person smiled a lot, or whether or not you know, a person made a remark that was, you know, got some people upset, or, you know, what he was wearing, or, you know, just little nitpicky things that really are trivia and not looking at essentials. And without philosophy, one doesn't really have a tool to distinguish essentials from the trivial.
Do you think this is being done? Please go ahead.
There is something that the Middle East can learn about us in that, and that's why I kind of jumped in here, because I know Scotty has heard this term, and I don't know if the ladies have, but it's called the dumbing down of America, and this is actually a term, and mostly I think you just about have to be libertarian to know this term. Or you would have to at least be a thinker above our public education. Because what this is we have seen a system come about that does literally sidetrack people into things away from what is important. It's kind of like the movie 1984, you know, be happy, shop, make, live your lives, get a job, drive your car. Don't worry about what we're doing over here. We'll take care of you. Don't worry about it. We got it. Don't worry about it. It's not important. So they give you shows like, you know, pop star shows and reality shows, and I can't even tell you what shows because I don't watch TV. But I think that's one reason why I do get a little more insight. And going back to education, I pretty much self-educated myself. I was out on the streets at 14, so everybody else was out partying, and I was reading. And I had a good advantage there, and I've had a lot of good teachers through life. But when you get away from that mainstream social conditioning kind of arena, you can look out and you can see exactly what you're talking about. It's an empty ideology almost, because people are more concerned with what color their car is or what's on TV tonight, rather than there are a million people getting killed overseas, and we're a part of that. They look at that like it's not even a part of, you know, it's nothing to do with them. You know, we're not there, they're there, we're here, it's not my problem. I got to go watch American Bandstand or whatever, American Idol. And that is a lot of the mentality we do have, and that is sad. But I do think that is changing. And obviously it's got to be changing because we have people like Scotty that are running for office, and people like Ron Paul that are running for office. And we do have a lot of these people coming up into our politics that are looking also at ideology rather than just political theory that we've had in the past. Wow, crickets.
Yep. I agree. Yeah. I'm just trying to think something that's well said.
I mean, to some point, I think in everywhere in the world, because this dialectic philosophy is not only being taught in America, this is also being taught in Turkey, and very surprisingly in Saudi Arabia, in Malaysia, in Indonesia, everywhere in the world. So it's everywhere. But I think this is not only the government who should take a stand here, but also private sector and civil organizations like we have here. Because if you educate a generation believing there is dialectics in nature, okay, they are brought up that way, they will essentially come to believe that inevitably, because there is dialectics also in history. And this is what Marx says. And they will become Marxist without knowing it, and they will become materialists. And when a society is materialist, we cannot expect something other than this from them, because they will not simply care. This is what materialism brings to them. And they will not care about their families, their friends, or their belief systems, or other people's lives, or other people living on the planet, because they will think they are subconsciously, not knowingly, sometimes subconsciously, they will think they are just a lower species. That's it. And I think also civil societies they have to take a stand here, and they have to start educating people.